is, does everything need to be refrigerated? And the answer is no, and that's where, and I write about this in the book, there are different ways of preserving food that give you different options. So, company in here in California that has developed a nanoscale coating, which is made out of lipids, plant lipids, that basically creates controlled atmosphere, but at the scale of the sort of coating on the fruit. So
Mm.
you're getting, you spray that on I don't know, a bell pepper, and you can put it out. I saw this there. They'd had the bell peppers, one set of bell peppers out at ambient for 8 weeks, another set out with the coating at ambient for 8 weeks, perfectly edible coating, FDA approved already. And obviously the ones that had been out at ambient for 8 weeks without any coating just looked horrible. I mean, they were a mess. They were
They were rotten.
beyond, yeah, they were beyond ready for the compost pile. They were going to walk themselves over there any minute.
I hear you.
But and
I
the
can
ones
smell it as you speak.
the ones with the coating, yeah, you wouldn't have chopped them up for your crudité platter, but they were perfectly good candidates for a stir fry. So I think that's exciting to me because, okay, great, some things need to be refrigerated, but you have to think about, you want your beer cold, you need your ice cream cold. Does your cucumber need to be cold? It doesn't. It needs to be fresh. So if there are other ways to achieve that freshness and take certain aspects of our food supply out of the cold chain, we should embrace those too.
Mm.
And it has a huge impact, that in particular, on what you can eat, because there's, for example, so many, you'll have seen this in Bali, so many incredible tropical fruits that aren't, something you can ship in the cold chain, and that's why we don't see them at the supermarket. Well, if you could treat them using this coating instead, suddenly you're opening up a much more biodiverse diet, opportunities for smaller scale farmers in these places. I mean, it's just really exciting. And there's actually, and I spoke to an Australian consultant who had looked into this for the Australian meat industry, actually, but there's a supercritical carbon dioxide uh, preservation method that would allow Australian producers to ship meat not refrigerated to the
Mm-hmm.
Middle East, say, big markets,
Mm-hmm.
big export markets, and not require refrigeration en route. And again, that they're going to market with their first product right now. That company, they're based in New York State. But the Australian consultant said to me, and I thought this was really interesting, he said, because consumers can't accept that meat doesn't have to be refrigerated, at least consumers in the developed world, consumers in Rwanda don't think meat is fresh if it is refrigerated. But if you're if you're shipping it, I mean, it's true. It's true
Mm.
though. But and that is what people in the US and Australia thought 100 years ago too. We've just changed. But the Australian producers might be able to ship their meat not under refrigeration using this CO2 supercritical pasteurization, and then it would be sold at the destination in the US, in the Middle East, wherever, in the cold cabinet, so that consumers don't have to kind of deal with the cognitive dissonance. But I think those methods are incredibly exciting to get some of our food to ask basically, what are we trying to do here? Does it have to be cold, or can we preserve freshness in a different way? For some foods, some foods have to be cold. I am the first person to say we need the cold chain for the future. I
Yes.
am never when we it's one of humanity's greatest inventions, and I love it. I'm just Sometimes when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And if you don't have to put a cucumber in the cold chain, maybe you don't have to, you know?
Mm. Yeah. And it's just about thinking differently and thinking a bit more broadly. And, it is all about cost, and it's also about, food security as well, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
If COVID taught us nothing else, Nikki, God, it's can we get food to the people when it's needed,
Oh, yeah.
during a crisis. And,
Yeah.
we, RWTA are, talking to federal government parties, Prime Minister and Cabinet and others, agriculture, etc., because we've had lumpy skin disease, for instance. We've had
Wow.
Well, sorry, we had a query to do with that. It didn't get into from Indonesia, but we were approached to say, how much space do you have within Australia to store? Because, of course, we've got these massive amounts of meat that are getting shipped out every day.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of it.
Yeah.
What if that had to stop?
Yeah.
Where are we going to put it all? Because,
Where are we going to put it?
for instance,
Exactly.
you've got, let's say, lamb that has to be killed at a certain, time. It can't go on. So chickens, the same. So how do you do that? So this is a complex, very interesting, and you've made, through your book, easy for people to, that aren't part of our space to actually get